Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And I have somebody that is a guest that hopefully you all will be seeing on a Detroit is Different stage coming very soon. But even if not there, you need to check them out on any stage if you see this brother performing. You already going to be like, oh man, he got the old school flavor. And I just found out something where it's even more of an old school flavor of one of Highland Park's best. But we're going to get into that in a minute. Drey Skonie, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. How you feeling?
Oh, man, everything is cool, brother. Everything is cool.
I appreciate you, Kari. Thanks for having me, man.
Definitely, definitely. So it's like we definitely going to get into the whole style thing.
Yeah.
But before we even get into that, this is probably going to give a platform of it. Classic Detroit is different.
Yeah.
Yo peoples, how did they get about to Detroit?
Okay, so good question. So my grandfather is Haitian. So they came from Florida.
Wow, sac passe.
Yeah, exactly. My grandmother, she came out of Memphis. So she moved from Memphis up here. So, and that's on my mom's side.
Okay, all right. So let's go a little bit before we even go to the Haitian.
Yeah.
Let's go to the Memphis. And
Yeah.
yo, if y'all don't know, it's a lot of black people in Memphis right now. Memphis stomping. Memphis is kind of trying to take that crown to like the
they do.
blackest place in America right now. And it's actually getting a little bit of my heart.
Yeah.
But before we go all into that,
Yeah.
Beale Street and all
Memphis
that.
is family for real.
So let's talk a little bit about that Memphis
Yeah.
because it's not a lot of peoples that make their way from Memphis to the D.
Yeah.
So let's just start in that
Okay.
culture.
Yeah.
And one of the other very famous singers from Memphis, as we know, is the Franklin family. Made their way up this way.
Oh, yeah.
But more so than even framing that. Memphis, did you spend some time down there? You got
I went
people
down there
still
for a family reunion before.
Okay.
But I was probably I want to say 11. You know what I'm saying? Young man
Young
vibes.
Drey.
Yeah, young. So,
Okay.
I got to experience the church vibe and stuff like that. But, and family,
Yes.
barbecue and all that stuff. So,
All right. And yeah, definitely. If you go into any Southern Baptist church,
yeah.
oh boy,
That's what it was, too.
it's gonna be thick. Yeah. So made their way this way from Memphis. What brought them this way?
Really, my grandmother, she was just traveling, probably looking for work. She was just getting out of school and all that type of stuff. She went to New York, too, for interior design. But I think she had a family member here already that she was meeting up with. I don't know if she was trying Detroit out or, I don't really know that part of it. But she came and just never left.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So the story goes, her cousin was supposed to pick her up from the train station or something, but she never showed up. So my grandmother went to a church, Bethel. And basically they had at that time they had places for people to stay and stuff like that. They had nowhere to go. So yeah, my grandmother, found her way through the church. So
Okay, and you said Bethel, New Bethel.
I only know one Bethel, so
Okay, all right. So that's the Memphis Franklin connection even more so. So if people know, C.L. Franklin famously comes from Memphis to the city of Detroit, and down the street from where Motown even starts, he starts producing the albums and the vinyls, which actually created. This is some inside scoop that I often give people.
Man, you teaching me some stuff right now.
Yeah, so at the time. Really, when people talk about the start of soul, rock and roll, what's happening, really, you talk to most music historians, they'll say Ike Turner and what he was doing in Missouri and all of that was far ahead. He just didn't have access due to racism. Racism and business go hand in hand.
I was just watching this stuff about Stax too, so
Yeah, they didn't have the access to the people the engineers and the press and all of that. You know who had access to the press and the engineers and all of that?
Who that?
C.O. Franklin.
That's crazy.
So a lot of those people from Motown were people that was walking up and down the street to New Bethel that already had it. So it's you had a competitive advantage because C.O. Franklin was one of the first people saying, "Look,
dope.
I need my sermons to be heard and on vinyl."
Exactly.
Almost like a televangelist at a time.
Yeah.
Hence, this is tying C.L. Franklin to Martin Luther King and Aretha Franklin to Martin Luther King.
Yep.
So much money being
I remember that
raised.
being in part of the story.
Yeah, man. It's interesting
Yeah, that's
what
crazy.
New Bethel meant to the civil rights movement and its other stories and
That's
connections, but
crazy.
just
Yeah,
that
that's
whole little
deep.
footprint.
That's deep.
And now I know Drey Skonie's
Yeah,
family connected through that Memphis connection and
that's
connect
crazy.
there too. That's even deeper,
That's
man.
crazy.
Linwood
Yeah,
has a lot of history.
that's crazy.
So as we get into that, so your grandma and she stays in that neighborhood or
No, I mean, she was on the east side. You know, when her and my grandfather met at Bethel. So it was on the east side, west side, Southfield. You know, they moved around. You know,
okay.
did their thing.
All right, so granddad, and
Hmm.
definitely Floridians in
Yeah,
Detroit is unique,
yeah.
and let alone
Haitians.
Haitian Floridian is like, it's like, you're not getting a lot of them flavors of like, all right, mix this liquor with this milk and stuff. They don't
I don't know
know
what.
this person.
I don't know what brought his family up here.
Mm.
Real talk. I don't know if it was more jobs, opportunity of jobs, But I know my grandfather, he retired from force, so he was deep into that,
Okay.
Industrial Revolution era. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm guessing because both Memphis is so close to Chicago, and most Floridians, it seems like, and Haitians end up in New York. You probably got people in New York
Yeah, I
and
probably
Chicago
do. Yeah,
abundantly.
yeah, probably do for sure.
Hmm.
I definitely still got family in Miami though. So
Okay,
yeah,
well, that
yeah.
obviously that plays a little Haiti.
Jacksonville, all of that. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay, you speak patois?
no, I wish. I
Okay, all
grew up
right,
in
all right.
Detroit.
I got you. I got you. All right, so now let's get into that story. So
Yeah.
you said moved around, east, west, all around.
Yeah.
What do you remember as like that home, that grandparents' home, most from
Oh,
childhood?
it was in Southfield.
Okay,
It's 12 Mile Evergreen.
okay.
That's when my grandfather started the church and all that stuff. So they
Are you
started,
serious?
yeah.
Okay.
Him and my grandmother they started together. But like him working at Ford and she was even into like interior design. She had houses, real estate around the city, and all that stuff. She started getting into that. So they built this church and all this stuff. And
Okay.
around that time, they had a house in Southfield. Um, And I just, all the Christmases, like all my instruments, you know what I'm saying? Like everything, all the family gatherings, the living room that you can't go in because it's all white, you know what I'm saying? Like all of that, all of that.
Okay. So you said instruments. So your family is a musical family. I'm
Family's
guessing.
music family, yeah.
Who played what? Who sung what?
Grandfather sang, and my grandmother, she sings and she played the organ and keys. So the story goes when they started dating, they were like wedding singers together. So they would sing around at venues
Okay.
together. Yeah.
All right, and that's unique that because it's like okay for all of my people that have not been in a black church, almost every black preacher is singing.
Yeah.
Some of them actually have
Some of them
talent.
can sing. My grandfather was like a black opera singer. He was. It was different. It was like very powerful and just projecting. You know what I'm saying? It was dope though.
As they know, singing from the diaphragm.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
your voice,
Yeah.
So in this, I'm guessing your mom probably picks up some of the musical talent and things like that too.
And I got to shout out their names. My grandfather, York LaFleur, he just passed like a month ago.
Rest in peace.
And my grandmother, Ruby LaFleur. So yeah, Grandma
Okay.
Ruby is what I call her. She on my album Rolling Stone. But yeah, my mom, she picked up the talent obviously, and my dad too. My dad is a singer and he's a pastor as well. He plays piano and sings, kind of does
So
that thing.
so I'm guessing at that time you were always in the church singing.
I was always in the church singing growing up. It started off more so me playing the drums, more so hopping on instruments and stuff like that. I didn't right away sing as far as like on the pulpit and stuff like that. At first it was more so just me playing the drums. I started drums at 6, keys at 9.
Wow.
And then I started singing from basically creating songs on the keyboard. You know what I'm saying?
All right. So in this, like this musical family, church family, and then like for people that aren't unfamiliar, this really a lot of the roots of black music go
Yeah.
and tie right
Just
into
like this. Yeah.
the church. Like so when you watch that Ray movie, you're watching Ray Charles's life,
Yeah.
but you could almost like apply it to like most black
You could
artists.
apply it to almost any Motown artist, you know what I'm saying? Any Stax record artist almost, you know.
Yeah.
Aretha,
Yeah.
everybody, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
direct connection.
Yeah, it's the same pretty much.
And the kids would be like if you had a talented kid like Aretha. It's funny
Yeah.
you bring that up.
Yeah.
Or Sam Cooke or something.
Yeah.
Or even James Brown with what he was doing. Like you would like a convocation.
Yeah, it would be a platform for, you know, and it was, I never knew I was being trained until I got older, in the sense like I was meant for this in a way. Like I just was eager to do it, if that makes sense. Like, Granddad, I wrote a new song. Can I sing it? You know, he's like, yeah, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'll just be up there playing and singing the piano and, you know, just, you know, getting the flow going.
All right, mom and dad, what did they do?
So mom, she does hair.
Okay.
So yeah, she's all into hair. I've been seeing perms and whips my whole life.
We definitely about to explore that shortly.
Yeah, I actually know how to cut hair and style a little bit and do perms and all that. So, but yeah, it's familiar to me. Her youngest brother, my uncle, Drey, he would get perms, and he would perm my hair at a young age. So he was a real smooth guy back in the day.
Okay.
So, you know, all of my uncles really, but like my uncle Drey in particular, he was like all into the fast cars and, you know, the Rico Suave vibe. So, you know, I kind of picked up, you know, a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
And your pops?
Pops was pastor, more of like the hardworking dude. Like he was a cable man my whole life, so he climbed up poles and stuff like that. Hardworking dude, just, you know, I would say he was real dedicated to, you know, his church. But I didn't grow up with him as much as I did with my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I still was around.
All right, so so even in this, like what type of congregations were these? Like larger churches, smaller churches,
So,
like your grandfather and your dad's church? What was it like?
So my dad's church, I'll start with that. My dad's church was more smaller churches. I never really have been in a church where it was my dad's church.
But he was
the pastors. Yeah, he was either the head pastor or one of the pastors of the church. So, with my grandfather and my grandmother, we started off in a little church in Brightmore over on Outer Drive and Fielding. It was like a really small church. Yeah.
Oh man.
And that's where it all started. You know what I'm saying? We got videos of that. It's beautiful. But they had the notion to build a new church. They built the church from the ground up. And I actually helped in that, you know, putting in, you know, bricks and, you know, whatever I could do as a little kid to help with all that stuff. And I watched them build this church that's standing in the corner of Outer Drive and Fielding now. Nice size church. I wish I knew the square footage. But when they built that church, we ended up, you know, getting a lot of more members. A lot of people in the community was getting involved and stuff like that too. So we started getting a lot more members. It started filling up a little bit. We had the balconies. In the small church, we didn't have that. You know what I'm saying? It was just pretty, just traditional, like what you would see on the 50s film or something like that.
So I do want to say this for a lot of people that are like, man, the church be actually the building fund does build
the building fund actually does get happening sometimes.
At some institutions, sometimes we don't know what's happening.
That's one thing I can say about my grandfather, bro. Like, you know how you know with a lot of pastors you get like, see they sin on them. Like I can't say that about my grandfather. I ain't never seen nothing. So
I do want to also explore like even how impactful for somebody at a young age to see the vision of something in development, and that takes time, come to life.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure that we reflect because sometimes we're not thinking like, oh man, especially in our community, because so much can impact us not in a constructive way.
Yeah.
But you saw this vision come to life, and you saw, I'm guessing, along this way, more community pour in.
I saw the environment. I saw actually people working together. You know what I'm saying? I saw the make it happen mentality. You know, I just saw, you know, we can do this. Like I never had the mentality that I can't do something. You know what I'm saying? Just probably because of all of that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Deep.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Yeah.
And then just to be in there and see it, I'm pretty sure your grandparents looked at that like, wow, this is...
even considering like racism and stuff, like, because this is a quick veer off, but just to give you some contrast, like I experienced some like deep racism when I was like 12 years old, like old white man pulled a shotgun out on me.
Wow.
But even with all that, I never thought I couldn't do nothing.
And we got to get deeper into that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just, the story. Like, I'll tell you the story real quick, man.
Before we even get there, because I know we're going to dry there, I got to start your school story. Okay. When you started school, because I'm sure this is in that pathway.
Yeah, so I went to, what's the name of that school? What's the name of that school? It was on Outer Drive and, not Outer Drive, but Evergreen and, like, in between. Damn, what was the name of that school? So I lived on Outer Drive and what was that, Salisbury. It was a school over there that was like elementary and middle school, and I can't remember it.
So just a public school you're going there?
Public school, yeah.
Okay, and that's where you start. Middle.
That's where we start.
Middle, where you go?
Middle, we got moved to the suburbs. My mom remarried, so we moved to the suburbs, and I went to the school in Redford, Pierce.
Okay, yeah. Now you just put us in. You lived in Redford.
Yeah.
In Redford, for people that don't know, for people that don't know the Metro Detroit footprint, Redford, though connected to Rouge Park and like the Cody neighborhood, and you think of like some true, sincere black community, like is right there by Redford.
Yeah.
When you think of Redford as black folks, it's not like completely like red light, but it's definitely one of those communities that, it's
like, do you really want to be over there? You know what I'm saying? But it ain't like, I've definitely seen some crazy stuff over there, but it ain't. It was safe to be walking around at night. You know what I'm saying?
And the tensions also really more so when I say that. Like, I think of Redford black man driving, like Redford police. Yeah, like, let's put it like this:
the racism again. Yeah.
If you go to the traffic court in Redford any day of the week, you're going to see probably 95% black people.
Yeah,
and you like,
real talk.
Where do these people live?
Yeah, real talk.
You know?
And that was a big issue growing up, even in school. But, I got called the N-word. Can I cuss on here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay. I got called nigga by a little white boy, and I beat him up. And he kept calling me. He ain't called me the word once. But so, because he kept calling me the word, because, I was pretty patient with him, you know what I'm saying? But because he kept calling me that, a lot of people was like, man, you just going to let him keep calling you that? Like, and that kind of built up the spirit in me, like, you know what? I'm not.
and I want to say this, and you're 12, how do you even respond, because you're so young, to connect that, like, okay, this kid is, and this is also an example that, like, when we say, like, people learn this behavior, because he's, I'm guessing, around y'all same age,
he's
too.
Same age.
So he's learning this behavior.
So
how did you even connect that, like, okay, this was off?
Because, to be honest with you, like, I'm really not confrontational. So it was more so like, like, I felt like he wanted something out of me. I felt like he wanted to spark something out of me.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I wanted to give him that at first, but it was more so the fact that it was probably a lot of people around, and now I was getting punked in front of everybody. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what made me respond. If it would have probably just been like me and him, I probably would have never responded. You know what I'm saying? But now I felt like I was getting punked, and it was like, it was racist. You know what I'm saying? I knew it. So, I responded, basically just took care of it, and then he ain't know what hit him. Like,
wow,
he ain't never do it again. You know what I'm saying? I got suspended, though.
Well,
yeah.
And this is also a whole nother concept in learning systems.
Yep, systems. Yep.
So you're suspended. How did your parents respond to this?
Oh, they were upset, because not at me, but just at the system, because, obviously this young white boy was antagonizing me and following me around at that. You know what I'm saying? So I think he picked on me. Everybody, I wouldn't say everybody, but it was a few chunks of people that tried to pick on me, thinking I was soft, pretty-eyed boy. They didn't really know Detroit would come out of me sometimes. So
got to throw hands.
I had to, like a lot.
I'd
as a
assume
kid.
so. Yeah. Kid with different color eyes. Yeah, you getting tried every time.
Yeah. It was like Mortal Kombat in school. Like, a new person every week. Like, all right.
Hey, get swift with it.
Yeah.
So in this, you mentioned 12, like in this same area, middle school.
Yeah.
Shotgun pulled on you.
Yeah,
How this happened?
So this I actually went to Chicago to visit my uncle, that smooth uncle.
I said that Memphis Chicago connection.
Yeah, and so we out there, and we went horseback riding in the suburbs, so outside the city, and me and my best friend, who's a police officer now, shout out to Maurice. At the time, we were we had got done doing the horse shit. You know what I'm saying? Like we wasn't really. We from Detroit. We wasn't really trying to ride no horses. It was cool, but it was like a little, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, hold up. You know what I'm saying? So at least that was our mentality at the time.
Yeah.
So when we got done, we went to this ice cream parlor that was basically in the same, like, we could have walked there, but we just drove to the ice cream parlor. And it was a Spanish lady with us, but she was like Argentinian or something like that. So she looked white. So she had like, milky skin and red hair basically. So she looked Irish basically. But she was completely Hispanic. She went with us to this ice cream parlor. And I wish I knew the name of it. But me and my best friend at the time, we going in there. We just kids. We were like, oh, I want this one. I want that one. Like, man, I ain't eating that. You know what I'm saying? Just being kids. You know what I'm saying? So, and it was only us in there. So, only us three in there. And so, the guy who was taking our order, white guy, he's just staring at us. And I'm a very observant. I've always been like that. So, he was staring at us. I'm like watching him, but I'm just being a kid. And I'm watching my friend ain't watching. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm watching him, and I'm like, looking at him like, what are you looking at? But we looking at the ice cream. And so something made him mad that we said. I don't know. We was talking about the ice cream. I don't know. I really don't remember what we said, but it wasn't nothing like.
It was nothing to draw a firearm on children.
Exactly.
And really, in reality, nothing said should ever make you draw a firearm
on children at all. So he said, how dare you bring that kind in here?
Wow.
Like, we both was like, he was like, get the hell out of here. So, and we looking at him like, so the lady that was with us, she was like in shock. She just like stopped talking. Like, she didn't know what happened. And we kind of did the same thing. We was like, what? And, and he was like, get out of here. So we started walking backwards already, and just from the tension.
From that exchange,
yeah. And so as we're walking back, like, fuck this place. You know what I'm saying? We walking back to the door. His partner in crime comes out of the back room with a shotgun, aims it at us, and literally puts it right in our face.
Wow.
So, get the hell out of here.
Wow.
Right now before I blow your fucking brains out. Something he said like that. And so we just started walking backwards, like, out the ice cream parlor. It was like a Western.
Damn.
Yeah, like.
So this event happens.
Yeah, this happens.
And I can only imagine how your uncle responds.
Oh, yeah, man.
How do you even, like, as a kid, how do you even explain? Because, kids tell stories. Kids tell stories.
I was going to get into that. So my uncle, he's very militant, but he don't play around. Like, you know what I'm saying? With stuff like that.
Because also, like, for now, as you're older, it's layers in this.
It's layers in this. Now I know what's going on.
One, the racist layer.
Yeah.
Two, his sister, you know what I'm saying, got one of her most precious possessions with him, and a friend. So it's like your friend is like in sense. So now it's like, no,
we
I
all
got
in Chicago too, so we under his care and all of this. Yeah.
So I can only imagine his response. Where does he go?
Honestly, instantly, once he found out, he rushes over to the ice cream parlor. Everybody that's with him, he's the only black one. Outside of me and my friend. Yeah. So everybody else is Hispanic.
Wow.
So when we get there, my uncle definitely was irate. Not to the point where he was grabbing anybody or punching anything.
But being stern and being understood.
And was looking them dead in the face like, you're not going to see the last of me. You think you could pull a gun out on some kids, you're not going to see the last of me. So for that statement They called the sheriff. He called his sheriff friend.
Wow. So from there,
Yeah.
this is like, is this before or after the whole incident in school?
What school situation?
The incident where the kid called you a nigga.
Oh yeah, this is probably. I don't even know. It's too far back to remember.
To recall which
Yeah.
incident more,
Yeah.
but still, you're learning systems a little bit more,
systems, yeah.
and hence, like we keep using that, or I'm using the term system because when we say systemic racism, systemic, it exists. So you're 12 dealing with shit like
really
this,
real life experiences.
yes.
And
So he comes and like, yo, what the hell is wrong with you pulling a shotgun?
Yeah, and the dude that pulled the shotgun is obviously hiding now. So he's nowhere to be found.
Yeah.
And so now the white guy that initially kicks us out is the one that's doing all the back and forth. So he
calls his friend.
His sheriff friend.
Yeah.
Sheriff comes and arrests my uncle.
Wow. And see, this is back to systems and agency to power, meaning that the relationship between that sheriff that knows that this guy is completely a bigot and probably a bigot himself, extremely racist. And this becomes racism because you're using a power dynamic. The power dynamic is one thing, one in age and having the emboldenedness to pull a shotgun and know that nothing's going to happen to you for pulling a shotgun on the child.
Kids.
A. B, I know I got friends down at the station that will lock up the person that even responds to this. Yeah. So your uncle's locked up.
Yeah, now he's locked up.
Okay, now, this is a whole nother to do, because if your uncle's locked up, who you staying with? What's going y'all kids?
Exactly. So now we just with the Hispanic people.
With the Argentinian family.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, at what point do you get on the phone and call your mom? And
I did not call my mom.
Wow.
Yeah, we handled that situation.
Because I was thinking to myself, if your mom would have found out, she'd have been busting down 94.
Pretty much.
Probably with your granddad, your grandma. And
it'd have been a
whole to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, for sure. And if my dad would have found out.
Oh, well. Yeah.
You know?
So this is going on, and you're watching and understanding this whole thing, and you're still a kid.
Yeah.
And your perspective of this is like, damn, that fast, my uncle gets locked up for protecting me. And these are the other layers, like when people say, oh, I'd have did this or I'd have did that, or I don't know about this and I don't know about that. Like the response even to doing what's logical in these broken systems that are so compounded and built upon racism. When I speak about this, people think I'm so militant. I'm not being so militant. I'm just looking at facts.
Yeah, you're right.
Drey never told me this story before.
Let me tell you this too, because there's some weird contrast in this, right? You know, obviously being raised by pastors. Yeah. You know, you get taught this forgiveness. You know. Yeah. You get taught forgiveness, turn the other cheek. But the other thing is, on my father's side, his mother is mixed. She's mulatto. So I don't exactly know where that come from, but I know it's Alabama. We got some people in California, that type of stuff. I did meet, as a kid, I met like my great grandparents or something like that, and they were white. You know what I'm saying? So I knew I was related to white people. So when growing up, I always felt like, well, all white people can't be bad if I'm related to white people. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So I always had that contrast, even though I would go through these experiences. You know what I'm saying? I would just look for the signs of racism. You know what I'm saying? I didn't always just say it's all white people. You know what I'm
saying? And I like that you brought that up, because I often, like I say, people think that I'm extremely militant. And when I speak to this and the savagery that goes historically with white people that exist. So when I say white people, I don't mean white people as in like Mike. Yeah. I mean it as the institution of what exists in whiteness. The same way me as a male.
The same way they say old white male, though. You know what I'm saying?
The same way as me as a man, in my agency of what I represent as a man in reference to a woman, yes, she does have a disposition to look at me as a man because of my agency and say, damn, that can be something that exploits it. So I'm very understanding of so many dynamics that sometimes don't make any sense in the world, because I'm looking at it like, yo, I'm Kari, I'm a cool dude. You gotta
be honest. That's what it is. That's where it starts with. A lot of people, they like their advantages. Yeah. You see them, they use their advantages. You know? So they take advantage.
I mean,
you know, and people not gonna be honest about that. You know what I'm saying? So when you're able to kind of recognize and be a realist in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And then you can navigate, because a lot of this is, it's nonsense. People
And
fear what they don't.
it ain't easy to forgive neither. Being a realist don't mean forgiving all the time.
I believe, for me, the functionality is, like I say, with Nas, people fear what they don't understand, hate what they can't conquer. And a lot of it I look at as ignorance, because so much of it, as I'm sure that ice cream parlor is probably just not used to having some young brothers in there. Or here's a small example, like my dad, when my dad used to go up to my nephew's school and get the kids ready, and sometimes the teachers would be like, man, these boys is wild as ever. And then my dad would do a push-up contest with the kids. Then they'd be ready to connect, because culturally, and it don't make sense, but it make all the sense in the world, that sometimes we're going to function differently. Culturally, we connect differently. We want to do push-up contests. We want to climb trees. We're going to question things differently. We can't just sit down behind the desk for 7 hours and be cool. Like, technically, if you can get a group of 50 black boys to do that and they 7 years old, probably something's wrong with that group of 50 black boys. They supposed to be going crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have to be engaging and connect with them on that level.
With that energy, though. You know what I'm saying?
And match it. And if you don't know that energy, you think something's wrong with it.
It's too
What's
much.
going on?
But in the system, again, like it's a system. Like, we can get into all the systems, y'all. Everybody know they exist, but it can sound crazy. But like, it's even systems to sit us down. The convenience of everything now. You know what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody walking out of town no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sound crazy, right?
Yeah.
But people literally migrated from the South.
And in so many ways.
You see what I'm saying?
So now let's get back into the music of this whole thing. So this is all happening, and you're in church. Yeah. When do you begin, like, writing your own music that's, as they would say, secular, connected to church?
Yeah. It was definitely once I started getting a little older. Like,
like high school?
No, I was out of high school.
Oh, even out of high school?
Yeah,
were you still
I was still performing in high school, but I'll be honest with, like,
did you do, like, the talent shows and sing?
I did the talent shows and stuff, but I kept some of that stuff separate for real, because, like, my church life and you could say, street life was a little separate sometimes. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like I lived two different lives. Like, people didn't know I was at church singing and playing instruments all the time. You know what I'm saying? Then people at church didn't know I was hanging around, probably shooting b-ball, hanging out with the gangsters or whatever. So, but that was the norm, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like I felt like I couldn't. Some of those people did come to my church or went to my church. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't discussed. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, let me bring this up too. And I know you're like, huh? What? Huh? For the people watching. Street life and black church are very interrelated in the city of Detroit. And I know that sounds very crazy. But some of the people in there that are finding finding balance themselves, God, I don't even know all the words to put into it, are people really dealing with
real stuff.
You know what I'm saying? That altar call, it be some gangsters coming to the altar call. So I just wanted men and women. You know what I'm saying?
I've seen the craziest. I'm gonna give you one example of the craziest situation of that. Neighborhood crackhead breaks in the church, steals instruments, all my stuff too at that.
Ain't that something?
Steals instruments, and then comes to church again the next Sunday, just to see, like he was checking the temperature or something. Like, we knew it was him. My grandfather knew it was him. My grandfather handled this so amazing, man. Like, he prayed for this dude. He, like, basically, like, forgave this dude. You know what I'm saying? And it, like, changed this man's life.
Wow.
Like, I can't remember exactly if we got all the stuff back, but I believe we got some of the stuff back.
That's I love hearing stories like that, because it shows through benevolence. And I say two things sometimes happen, because I believe, what do they say? Before a person commits a crime, it's a couple things that they need to do. One, they got to feel justified in whatever the act is. Two, they have to look at whoever they're probably about to commit the act to, like they don't need it as much. And three, they probably demean it. So they're probably, in that act, I know this sounds crazy, he's distorting it as, they probably going to hate me. They probably going to die. So then when you hit them with love, it
such
breaks you down. To the point where
everything.
It's like, man, I'm a savage.
Yeah, like, I shouldn't have did this. You know what I'm saying? So, that's just an example of that. But, going back to the music, once I started creating, like I had my 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 oldest uncle York. He was the junior.
Yeah.
With my grandfather. He was really into all the instruments. Like all my uncles play instruments, but he was into all the instruments.
He was like Prince, played everything.
Yeah, he was really like that. He still is. And he would just once I showed the interest back in the day, he kind of like got me going. He recorded my first song.
Wow.
On like the digital, computer recording softwares, like when they first started coming out. And that was at 12 years old, so a lot happened at 12.
Yeah.
But he taught me how to do all that stuff at that age. So recording myself and making beats and how the instruments should sound. Like, how does a trumpet sound? All right, yeah, play it like a trumpet. You know what I'm saying? Don't just hit the piano. You know what I'm saying? So he kind of pushed me in a direction as far as music goes. So when I got to, give you a quick tidbit. When my senior year of high school, some crazy Detroit shit happened. Well, it wasn't too crazy, but somebody put a gun out on my head, and something happened with my parents that I ain't like in that situation, and I left. I just disappeared. I went to and I moved to Chicago. So,
with your uncle or just by yourself?
With my uncle at first.
Okay.
So and then with my uncle, I ended up moving out and getting my own place with some roommates.
How long were you in Chicago?
I stayed in Chicago from 17 till about, I want to say 22.
And what era of Chicago are we talking? Like, is this like mid?
This like
10
Kanye and Twista.
Okay.
Yeah, vibes. You know. What
so
I'm saying?
This is definitely in the mix of. So for people that don't know, even though I always call Chicago like a brother sister, it's a brother sister city.
Yeah.
But the way back to street life functions in Chicago differently due to I think a lot of the racism that exists creates a element of gang life connecting almost Black like Panther Chicago.
Almost, you could say.
Yeah. So
Chicago was really deep with that.
So like like in LA, it's like what color, you know what I'm saying, where your mama from and all that.
It's like
in Chicago, it's a whole lot more like what side you wear your hat.
Wearing it on, yeah. It's
so,
still a color thing, but it ain't as deep as LA. You right?
But definitely, you wear your hat right.
Yeah.
You
can't wear that 6-point star.
And they say, "Yo, what's up, folk?" And you better know the right answer to be like, "I'm from Detroit."
Matter of fact, I got a Motown tattoo. And one time, some people was looking at it like, "Oh, you from Motown?" I was like, "Yeah." Like, 75th or 76. I'm like, "Oh no, I'm from Detroit." You know what I'm saying? So it's like.
So with this, I say because 17 to 22, that's an era where it's coming at you.
Yeah.
So how are you adjusting to this whole new culture of street life that's so different in Detroit?
Well, I got some cousins that I pretty much grew up with too.
Yeah.
My grandma Ruby's sisters.
Yeah.
Kids
from Memphis up to Chicago.
Yeah, up to Chicago. Yep, same situation. So them I was real tight with growing up. We family reunions, all that stuff. They was in Memphis. We had one in Chicago, Detroit, everywhere. So at family reunions, I had these two cousins in particular. They the ones that gave me the Skonie name, by the way. Mm-hmm. So we was always kicking it. They was GD, all that stuff.
Yeah.
They was into the streets, lived in the hundreds. So I was pretty much protected. I
was gonna say, like, so for people, and let me tell you all this. Like, even one of my homeboys that worked with Ford was helping a plant get established in Chicago, and they was like, "Yo, man, we have to run shifts, GD, Gangsta Disciples, and Vice Lords. They had to run shifts based on what set was in there because that," and you're thinking like, damn, a national corporation has to function deep. With the deep. Culture of street life there. And as I say this, it's kind of like in LA, like it's a part of the ethos. And I'm not glorifying it. I'm not saying that it's a beautiful thing. I'm saying it is a thing because I think similar to like Stone Running and the P-Stone Rangers and a lot of the racism that exists in a place like Chicago that's so segmented and so connected.
I mean, they have a city called Bronzeville. You know what I'm saying? Like,
so you're in the mix of this. You're in the mix of this. And in the mix of this, at that age, with your cousins,
So I was into like hip hop a lot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was into like, even when I was because I was the music cousin, I had the equipment. I ended up getting my equipment. My uncle taught me what to get. So I bought the computer and the speakers and the MIDI controller and all that stuff. So I was the cousin that was making beats. Even they would come around
I'm
rapping.
guessing like some of the drill music guys was probably coming over.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily drill at the time.
Yeah,
but
I
it
mean,
was
yeah.
that what becomes
what becomes to drill.
What becomes to drill.
Those guys.
Yeah, those guys were like we be in the studio, me and my cousins a lot, just kind of putting them hours in, getting them 10,000 hours done. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of that stuff was really just it was initially for fun, but it was training me again more than I knew. So I was creating a lot of songs just to see what I could do, getting my ideas out, and yeah, man, I even had girls over and just see what they would think. You know what I'm saying?
Girls over at 17, that can lead to children.
Yeah, I had my own apartment at 17.
Oh yeah, that's a recipe.
It did lead to children. So by 21, I had my first kid. And it was conceived. She was conceived to one of them songs I made in my room.
Oh man! All right, so what led from that Chicago? What led you back to Detroit?
All right, so a lot of things happened from Chicago to Detroit. Like I ended up auditioning for making a band. I did make it. I went pretty far on the show. Went to get the cheesecake and all that shit, and then I ended up getting cut halfway in the show.
All right, so now because everybody's probably asking so many questions, and I'm not even about to ask any of the bad boy questions per se, but I do want to ask these questions. Okay. Reality and reality TV. I often tell people different realities. Can you explain a little bit of what reality TV and reality is?
Yes, I can. So, fortunately for me, being a talent-based show, that's the part that was real. Okay, the talent base. But then it has to be a story. There's always a story. And people fall in love with stories, and that's what they teach you on TV. So everybody had to pretty much give a story, not necessarily create a story, but some people may have created stories. I don't know who did and who didn't. But they had to give a story to sell to TV. I felt like I wasn't good at that.
And that's interesting that you share that. And I've often told people these arcs. So like one of my homies, Reverend Bullock, when it was, what was it? Like the Pastors of Detroit show that they were doing. So it's like scenarios are created. Scenarios are created and it's just more exasperated. It's reality, but like for instance, like if this was a reality show,
created confrontation,
and I came in, like so I came in. Drey was here a little bit early, so if it was reality TV, it'd be some producers like, "Where's everything at?" He probably doesn't want to interview him and everything like that. And it just was like, "Yo, give me a second." It could have possibly exasperated, and then if that show were aired, let's say Tuesday, and then we have to meet up again next Tuesday.
And then
all of our friends are like, "Oh man, you gonna let them do that? You gonna let them do that?" Now it feeds into as you say, a storyline.
Yeah, and then but like I said, by being a music-based show, like we got to focus a little bit more on the music. But like, for instance, the way I was cut, to this day, I always gonna have a problem with it. Now, and everybody gonna, some of the industry people gonna be like, that's business. But I'm tired of that's business people. You know what I'm saying? Treat people right at the end of the day. But I felt like I had quit my job and sacrificed. I had just had my kid, and sacrificed all this to take a chance on my dream. Right? Go to New York. I got auditioned in Chicago, and second auditions was in New York, so we got flown to New York for the next rounds. That's where we had to go in front of Diddy. Now I made it past that, so now we're in the house, right? We're doing the cheesecake stuff, whatever. And the episode that I get cut, they had these new guys come in and basically kind of like shake us, get us off our guard, kind of make it seem like always be ready. Don't think that your spot is solid, you know what I'm saying? Which I actually do understand that. I did learn that lesson. But at the same time, I felt like instead of Now, I don't think none of the other guys wasn't talented. I think everybody that was in that house was talented.
Yeah.
But instead of it being more about the talent, it was more about the story.
And that's the other part that sells.
Yeah, exactly.
And the sad fact about it, and
it was more about the shock values and everything that they can do.
Yes.
I do believe me getting cut was a shock value at the time, and it created a great story.
And this is pre social media, or it's like the
it's
start.
MySpace days.
Yeah, it's the start of it. So people are talking about it, and you need, as you said, storylines. Yeah. And the reality of things today, even and we connected through Stephanie Hammond. Shout out Stephanie Hammond.
Out to Stephanie. What up, though?
My entertainment attorney that
Mine too.
Lord knows for years I probably give Stephanie so many headaches because I'm always zigging when I need to be zagging. But music was one of my starts, and when people always ask me, it's like I think the storyline plays out even in all music nowadays, because even the advent in that same time, like of a guy like 50 Cent.
Ooh, sorry.
Even before we even knew who 50 Cent was, all we knew was, oh man, he got shot. Yeah. He got shot.
The story.
He got shot 9 times. Like the story starts becoming more important than like, okay, can I hear some music? And the music was good, but still it's like, it's back to like the storyline I think plays out in all of music now way more than just the music existed. You know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't listening to I don't know, like when I first started listening to Outkast, I wasn't thinking to myself like, oh, Andre and Anton met when they was in high school.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that.
No, I was just like, oh, this song is
sweet.
Yeah, I like the beat. It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Oh, they was all a part of the Dungeon family and Rico Wade. And I mean, now I know the story.
Now I know the story, but I wasn't like that either growing up.
But I could care less about the story. Whereas now I think the story leads in the beginning.
The memory.
Yes.
You know I'm definitely, as a songwriter and as a person that's like learned and soaked in all this stuff, like that's something I definitely have to consider.
So I do have to. This is an interesting discussion where I do have to ask these questions too. So and oftentimes, I mean, Lord knows, me and my parents, I knew everything when I was a teenager. So we had some impasses around 18, 19, 20 when I was truck driving myself. So how do you come and make amends with family? Usually a child does do that. Like, how does that come back together to reconnect with your mom and your dad? Like, how does that Detroit wound, like, how do y'all kind of come to amends?
Well, I think, making a band did play a part of that. They didn't see me again until I was on TV.
Wow.
Nobody did. Even, like, I dropped out of high school, too, when I left. So
I know that made dropping out of high school, boy, talk about something that'll piss some parents off.
Yeah, I dropped out of high school and just dipped. Like, I got a bachelor's degree now, to all the people out there, but like being away, traveling, and doing something like making a band and having a kid and all that stuff, and then not having that family support that I really, really, really wanted. I kind of wanted to get back close to them.
Expand on that, because oftentimes that's another thing that's pervasive in definitely entertainment, but even sometimes I see that narrative being said now in a lot of spaces. What does family mean, even though you don't always agree with family? What does having family and a family base give a person, you think, at that young age?
Oh, man. I think it would have gave me a little bit more faith in myself. By me doing, I got a lot more affirmations from strangers. Now, I will say, like, it is key people in my family that has always been rooting for me.
Yeah.
And sometimes they've been outsiders, too. But, the whole singing secular music thing was an issue.
Yeah.
Sometimes still is, not always. But I think a lot of times what people do is they try to protect you from the things that they fear. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the things that you're going through. Because the things that I went through, I feel like with the family and all this stuff that I grew up in, I was prepared for it. You know what I'm saying? But maybe they didn't trust that I was prepared for it. Maybe they didn't really believe that I was going to be okay. I think they should have had a little bit more faith in themselves and a little bit more faith in God, because I feel like he protected me the whole way.
That's deep.
I could have got caught up in some of that Diddy stuff,
yeah,
whatever.
a lot of stuff,
and I never did. I was never touched. I was always blessed. I was always looked out for. I always had an angel. You know what I'm saying? I always had a friend, and I thank God for that. And even when I think about like me not making it so quick the way I thought, because after making the band, had some real huge success in Chicago with a group named Quiet Storm. We ended up getting signed to Usher's mom in Atlanta. So we moved to Atlanta and started making some noise. I'm getting trained by the guy who discovered Usher and Usher's vocal coach, Jan Smith, and all this stuff. Same people Justin Bieber and Beyonce had. So I'm starting to get all this stuff. So really, I never knew it wasn't gonna happen as quick as I wanted to, But I feel like all these things were like training, and I feel like God really was protecting me, because it's a crazy industry, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that stuff that be going on, it do be going on, and we don't always see it, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never went to the Diddy parties. I just, you just know not to, like, if you smart enough,
And now we there, and I like to share, because I've heard its own, but like not just the Diddy. I mean, the Diddy, the political parties, the sports parties, the big business leaders party. Like
some stuff you just know better.
The arc I want to share is this, and even here, like around the time when, I guess in my rap journey, it's been a couple of times where it's like, that could have been the moment. That could have been the moment. That could have been the quote unquote moment, and you're walking in a room where it makes sense to all these other people, but it ain't really making sense to you.
Sitting well with you.
And
preach, brother.
And they're like, well, everybody does this. Everybody does this.
Yeah, but this is the way to go. This is what you're supposed to do.
Everybody does this. Everybody does this. We about to go from here to here to here to here to here. New York is definitely one of those places. New York is like Vegas if you know the right people. It's 24/7.
Right.
So like you can go from this event to that event, to that event, to that event, to that event, to that event. And then when you think of the way that these stars are, DMX on his last Drink Champs told an excellent story about being in Africa through some different investors and like how the promotions are. And like, you got to be up and you got to be down. Hence the cocaine, get up. Hence whatever the opioid is to get down. Like, you don't know what's happening. You may be up from going here to there, You're in such a haze. All these other people are in such a haze. You don't know what's going on. Like, I know I'm getting to a long point to just basically give to the people that it's not as linear as like, this is right and this is wrong. It's a whole lot of gray area, because some of the people that'll give you the greatest opportunity and be wonderful with you can be the most ugly and monstrous person to somebody else.
Exactly. And like you see a lot of people learning that right now.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? A lot of people, they think, the glitz and glam is what's the most important. And as soon as you open that glitz and glam door, it's nothing but trash.
And even more so, one of my favorite albums, and a lot of people hate it, was Lauryn Hill's Unplugged. And I mean, I sometimes feel that pressure, even when Detroit is different, as I'm welcoming in other people. Like, you feel the pressure of like, okay, like, let's just say, for instance, me and Drey start something. This podcast goes major viral. And then people are like, oh, man, y'all need to keep doing something. Then we get a production crew. Now we hire a production crew. That's 10 people on our production crew. So now that those 10 people walk up to us, say, thank you so much. And like 5 of them be like, yo, man, I just had a kid. And one person say that. Another person's like, yo, I'm caring for my mom, and this will put us in the best position. And then the next person come up to us and say, look, man, I just beat cancer. And then the next person come up to us and say, look, man, I never had any opportunity in my life. Thank you so much. So now we go into the next production thing, and I don't know, let's say this is very far-fetched, but like, let's say it's just like the wrong advertiser comes to us, like, I don't know, Cool Cigarettes is like, hey man, y'all are the perfect podcast to push Cool Cigarettes. And it's like, man, I don't want to push that poison on my people. But it's like, here go $30 million check. And now we're looking at those 10 people that just told us that we're relying on this. And they're in the back of their mind like, look, I don't really like Cools, but it's probably a way to do this that is cool. And why don't you try to do this? And this is how it looks. So you got the pressure of all of these other people looking at you. They right.
And it's been done. Like, all these sponsorships and stuff and candies and sodas and everything that's been pushed on us that ain't really good for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's been done. And, I don't think, like you said, like, it's been done out of you know, the people that they're choosing, I don't think is ill-willed, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the people that's creating it, it's a whole nother story.
And you looking at your team, and all you thinking is they like y'all can do that. Y'all can go in there and do that.
30, like you said,
go in there and do that. Because now we're looking at it's like I don't see this person that's behind the camera. I see they kid. I see they family. I see that they just bought a new house. I see they just bought a new car. I see that they just it's like, man, I'm just paying for my son.
People really fall for these dreams, bro. Like they really fall for these dreams. I've been tried so many times, bro. Like people fall for the dreams, bro. And I just never have. I never sold my soul for it. And I think that's why my journey been like this. You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's been times where I've really had to be a man and be blunt to people like, no.
I can only imagine.
And it's like either you gonna hear me like this or you gonna hear me the Detroit way. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times you don't really want to do it like that because you want to, even in that moment, if we could just get to the business, we cool.
But it's very tough to get to the business because so many people are looking to, and then it's the other thing. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors too. Yeah. The money or assets that really exist versus that back to like it ain't making sense to you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey man, well if this is such a good deal, go on and give me half up front. They like, oh, that's just not how it's done. Well, guess what? And then it's like, oh, he don't know how to do business.
And it's an anomaly, but everybody ain't doing what they be trying to say people be doing. You know what I'm saying?
It gets so much smoke and mirrors in this. I mean, I remember I'm not even gonna say who the rappers are, but I remember one time, this is like maybe 2005, right? Mm-hmm. And we were planning, and I'm still driving my my grandma's 1989 Buick Century. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yo, let's do a business meeting. Let's meet up. And I was like, we can at least go to IHOP. They was like, IHOP, you got IHOP money? So all of them are pulling up in like Cadillac Escalades, at least 4 of them, 24-inch rims. Like, man, we got to hit that dollar menu off of Wendy's. And I'm like, this don't even make no sense, man. You can't get something better than we can't even sit down in a Wendy's.
That's another lie. Take it till you make it. Like, that's what they sell us, man. Like, they be trying to get us to do all this stuff. Like, that was one of my biggest pet peeves with being an R&B singer, right? Is that everybody told me I had to be an R&B singer this way. I had to shuck and jive, I had to dance, and I had to sing. Yeah. And I had to dance a certain way. I had to basically be Michael Jackson or
Omarion
or something, or Chris Brown, and it really got for me. Like I like to dance, but I'm not trying to dance to the point where I'm trying to be better than Michael Jackson, and I'm not trying to be better than Chris Brown. Like I think they're dope.
Yeah, but that's what they do.
That's what they do. That's one of their masteries. Me, I'm not into that. I got other.
Talents.
I got.
You can play all these instruments.
I can play instruments. I can do a little bit. I can do something else. I don't have to necessarily work on that. I probably should have been working on my piano skills way more than the dancing. But I got good at dancing. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? Because it helps for the stuff coming up. But I got irritated with the whole idea of okay, you got to fit into this picture. So that's kind of why. That's how we got to this. Where we are now, the image and the sound and everything.
And let's go into that. Because first, back to the perm and the process, man. Like, I remember when I first... So, what hits me off is through the producer of Rolling Scone is a song you did. Amazing song. Like, that was the song. If you came to a Detroit is Different event last summer, so that was either the collard green cook-off or when we did like the lot of studio when we were up in Petty Propolis, you were hearing Rolling Scone at least because it's a good transition because I'm usually in intergenerational events and it's something that has the bop of old school and new school. And I really like that remix album that Motown came out with a while ago, but it's way flyer because it was Nick Speed that was like, oh man, Speed. He was like, yo man, you heard this? And Speed know I like stuff like that. I love Speed. So he was like, man, I did this with Drey Skonie. I was like, okay, yeah, I saw the dude with the process. And then I was like, so yeah, he was like, hell yeah. And it was similar to Superfly where he was like, man, this was actually one of my fastest beats I made because I knew and I saw. I was like, that's how Rick James did Superfly. Yeah. And he was like, for real? I mean, Super Freak. So he was like, yeah, man. I was like, yeah, he knew
I told him
patterns and stuff.
I was like, I go by Rolling Scones sometimes. I told him that. Like, I got all these different names. Quincy Scones, Rolling Scones, Indiana Scones. I even do Sconey Island sometimes. So I told him, like, I want to do something with Rolling Scone. He was like,
I got you.
Yeah, so
And he had it like that.
yeah.
And Speed's a mad genius when it comes to music, and he's one of the few that still gets me like, I'm about to do
he
something.
really is a mad scientist with it, and I like working with people like him because music, like you can only gather so much, right? So like really working with different people is like having different hard drives. You know what I'm saying? Like you have a different download of music now, and so his collection, his what he has in his head is like, you know.
Oh man,
when we put that shit together, bro, we be making some shit.
It definitely is that.
So there's a lot of producers like that, but yeah.
So this style, the flow, what was the connection to be like, I'm flipping this?
Well, the first song I did like this was called One More Chance, and I believe I did that in 2017 or 18. So I was creating since like 16, those type of sounds. But it got a little deeper. I did the finger waves. I was always, man, like I kept saying like I want to be different. And I was like, I can only think the only way to be different is to just go back home with it. Like everybody say they doing Motown, but they not really doing it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody say they doing Motown, but they end up looking like Jodeci or something else. You know, it's a reflection of some other R&B style. You know what I'm saying? It's not Motown. So I kind of like thought about that. So the first thing I did was get the finger waves before I even created the music. I did that in 15, and I was just going through the motions, man, just trying to figure it out, learning, you know what I'm saying?
Who you was dating at the time was like, what in the world are you doing?
Now they couldn't rub nobody could touch my hair now, except for my hairstylist.
They like, what in the world is he doing?
I got a fly swatter. But
so you changed the style, and then even down to the whip, old school whip, like, and then clothes. How do you go about like the styling for the clothes?
So really, it's all studying, man. Like obviously, I'm not from the era, but I remember like seeing my uncles, my great uncle especially. He was stuck in the 70s for a long time.
Hilarious.
My grandfather's brother he would come to church with the bell bottoms. He had the platform shoes with the fish in them and stuff like that. Still had the fro. He was just stuck.
I never saw somebody with the fish other than in I'm gonna get you.
No, I'll promise you, I seen him in real life before I seen him on that movie.
I
promise you.
I love it.
And it was the craziest thing because obviously when you see something like that as a kid, it's like,
damn.
It's like it sticks to you. You know what I'm saying? So like I'm seeing fish in his shoes, like little toy fish in his shoes, and I'm looking like, why does he got fish in his shoes?
Wow.
You know, I didn't know what I was looking at. So growing up later on, I'm like, that's who my uncle was. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out Huggy Bear. Shout out Huggy Bear.
So you know, even just recognizing the players and, you know, pimps around Detroit that growing up, you see them at the gas station, you see them with the old school cars, you see them pulling up at Belle Isle, wherever, you know what I'm saying? You even see them sometimes, the little red carpet in front of the clubs that you can't get in. So, you know, I just remember that. And so the other side of it too was Motown. Shout out to Motown. Shout out to Motown Museum too. That to me was always been something special. You know, Motown's always been just it spoke to me out of music the most because it just never died. It was something about that. And
you shared with me when you think about the look and the feel, and it's like I'm seeing it even through this interview.
Yeah.
A guy I study, like I said, I told you I was gonna get into one of Highland Park's best. Highland Park's best. Jackie Wilson, Mr. Entertainment, Mr. Dynamite originally. You know what I'm saying? No offense to James Brown, we love James Brown.
Mr. Excitement.
Man, oh man, Mr. Excitement, Mr. Entertainment, Mr. Like, Jackie was phenomenal,
man.
And you,
Yep, I'll be playing Jackie Wilson. I am playing Jackie Wilson in the new TV series.
That's what's up.
Produced by Brenda Wilson, his daughter.
Shout out to Brenda. Brenda needs to get on Detroit is Different. Tell her
she will definitely
a long
do
time.
That. Yeah, definitely. We've been talking.
Okay.
But it's called Higher and Higher, and we're still in production. But it's coming along pretty well.
So the relationship for people to know between Motown and Jackie Wilson is Berry Gordy wrote Lonely Teardrops.
Yeah, Lonely Teardrops, Repetit.
Yep. And
To Be Loved.
Yep. and these songs are some of the biggest hits for Jackie.
Yep.
And this is like his foray into this industry
Into
to say like,
into
I
the
want to
music
do
industry.
this.
Yep.
And until his family, Barry has some other assets that
Yeah.
many didn't have, like the Gordy family itself and the trust fund and a lot of other things. But in connection,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense what you're saying too, because they probably believed in him because of the Jackie Wilson success. You see what I'm saying?
yes,
So it makes a lot of sense.
but Jackie, you know what I'm saying? He a different type of style, a different type of bop, a different type of walk, a different when you think about the relationship between Jackie Wilson and James Brown, Jackie Wilson and Michael Jackson, Jackie Wilson and Prince, even Little Richard shifted his style after Jackie. Like Jackie Wilson was such a pop success. Like his impact on it. People would say like Louis Jordan.
It was the first dancing and singing thing for real.
Like, yeah. So what people may consider what Elvis was doing, not even close.
No, Elvis and Jackie, believe it or not, were really good friends. They,
They
he would come to Jackie's show. He would watch Jackie's show.
I mean, like many, and he picked up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he did.
But Jackie was like a known, like he set the pace. Like Jackie Wilson would be what James Brown like he would sell out the Apollo like a whole week. And you'd be like, you know what I'm saying? Rest in peace, Mama Barnes, but or Thea Barnes. I used to say, man, how did the same people go back to see the same show? And it's like, because baby, it would be different all the time. She'd grab my cheek and stuff. And I'm like, I guess so. Jackie was that good.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
I get them vibes too. I get them vibes.
So you're taking this on, and this is going to be an interesting project because, like, I guess they definitely don't have to worry about who to go to for the hair and the styling and stuff.
Exactly.
Like,
I already got it.
I'm gonna need that outfit for 2 weeks.
I didn't brought all mine for real.
So,
no, they help too.
Yeah. What's the connection? And even as you learn more about his story, how's that impacting some of your flow?
With a director, Larik. Shout out to Larik. He's been very patient, I should say.
Yeah.
This is my first time acting.
Okay.
So he's been very patient and even some of the other cast, they've been helping out with just running through lines and stuff like that and getting me prepared. And the talent part of it, as far as like the singing and dancing part, is not so much my issue as far as like knowing how, because I believe that's why Brenda chose me. She was a judge for a competition, me and my band won last year, Klouds. So she saw me there, and that's how she chose me. And so I feel like me and Jackie just naturally have a lot of similarities as far as performance.
Yeah.
And I think I just picked up on a lot of that. Even if you think about like a lot of Motown acts, they not far off from Little Jackie Wilson's either.
I mean, that was
the
the number one. Michael Jackson will say.
Yeah. Jackie Wilson, yeah.
That's the one.
So I think he definitely kind of is the essence of like that smooth male guy, strong guy still, that just knew how to, had a charisma, on stage. So I think it's just something about that naturally having it that I was able to connect to Jackie Wilson. You see what I'm saying? A little bit.
Like it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely interested in that for like the story and to see how you gonna take a take on that. And then now I guess we go back into what's next on music for you.
Well, for me, it's everything that's combined into all of this, this story. Honestly, I feel like the transition into what I call the new old school is what I want to bring to this generation, to the generations before, the generations right now, and the generations after. I want people to be able to experience something that I didn't even really get to experience, but a time in music that I almost wish I can go back to, and that's why I want to give it to people. Since I couldn't experience for myself, it's like I want to kind of give it. So, real music, not just the cookie cutter, gyrating, whining, singing. I want to come from the heart. I want to come from the soul. I want to. I always tell people like that scene in 5 Heartbeats when the girl was squirming down in the chair off, you know what I'm saying? That's how, and I feel like I do my job, but that's how I want to make them feel, you know what I'm saying? It's more about the people like I said, people don't always remember what you say, but they remember how you made them feel, and that's basically what it's about for me.
I love it. I love it.
So new songs, new everything. The Klouds, we working on an album. I got 2 albums that I'm working on. One with the Klouds, one with myself. And I ain't got no titles yet, but the songs are pretty much done. So.
I'm looking forward to hearing some, and then you coming back and connecting. And I'm actually talking about like all right, so people know we pushing this now because it's the summertime. So it's 2. I'm looking, and I was already telling people, it's like, okay, I see that you guys performing as part of the championship round for the Collard Green Cook-Off. I think that it's such an intergenerational tip, and it'll shock them.
We always like being invited to the barbecue, so in the cookout. So just gotta let the Klouds know. I'm sure they'll be down.
I'm with it. So with that. Now let's get into the classic Detroit is Different questions as we close out. Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
First car, sheesh. Oh, I forgot who make this car, but it's ironically a Tempo. I think Ford Tempo. Yeah, Ford Tempo. It was red.
Okay.
2-door.
Okay.
I think I paid like $1,500 for it, maybe $1,000. What was the other question about that?
Year, you got it.
Year I got it had to be 2004 or 5.
Okay. Where's the first place you went when you got it?
Probably to the gas station. Probably got some gas.
All right. So
after that, I don't know. I think I went to work. I was probably working a job. Or something.
Okay. Oh, so it was a functional vehicle.
It was A and B.
But you was off your heels and on some wheels, as they say.
Exactly. Right. No more busting it.
So yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the other question. You'll love this one. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 3 songs. What songs you playing?
DJ. Woodward and Jefferson. I'm playing James Brown Higher.
Okay.
I might play probably what's his name? This is my guy too.
What's the song?
Morris Day in the Time.
Okay.
What is it? Cool COO.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm very deep, but I'm fun. So I don't know if I gotta stick to 3. I'm probably gonna go either. Man, it's a hard choice right here. Cause I'll be either Pusha Man or Indy City Blues, man.
Either A or B.
Yeah.
Okay, you can either go with some of that Detroit styling by way of DC, or some of that Chicago. Surprisingly, usually in these play mixes, I play ghetto from good old Hathaway, so it's always a little bit of Chicago when Kari's playing some songs. That's another one of them songs that be in the mix with Rolling Scone always.
That's what's up.
The live version, because that live album is one of my favorite live albums ever.
I gotta listen to that whole thing. I will. I'll be catching songs. You know how you just be catching songs, but yeah.
Oh man, Donny Hathaway live is.
No, I listened to a lot of his live stuff, but I ain't listened to it all the way through. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna change the way you hear everything.
Like even I know it's the classic one everybody talk about, but even still, like him and Stevie Wonder. So for instance, like "Song for You," and then Stevie Wonder's "Lately."
Yeah,
is like. I've always studied those 2 songs in the sense how they sing it. Not just what they're singing. It's how they're singing it. And you could it's like that on repeat factor. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, that was a tougher one because Mama Barnes used to always sing that one. So I think of her when I hear "Song for You," and then it's like other layers of, I think that's of a person that performs and loves the art. That may be the anthem for all performers that love art.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's giving me goosebumps just thinking about the tone, the control, but it wasn't about him. It wasn't really about him singing. Mm-mm. It was about what he was saying. It was about the connection, but it resonated. It was like a vibrations that resonated with your whole body, mind, and spirit. You know what I'm saying? So it's deep. Like it's like I love you in a place where there's no space or time.
That's deep.
You know what I'm saying? Like those moments, it's like he sang it different. Like you could feel his.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, that's deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, space.
Make you want to cry. It pull it out of you. So
and it's not, and that's what's so weird. It's not even a sad song, but it becomes the emotion.
It becomes the emotion.
Yes.
And that's what I want to bring to this generation. That's what I want to be able to do, be blessed to do. And I feel like I am blessed to do that. The producers and everybody I'm working with, the musicians that I have in my circle. Shout out to Piranha Head. Shout out to Flav. Shout out to AK.
Time out. You working with Piranha Head?
Yeah, working with Piranha
Head. Oh, man. When he sees this, tell Piranha Head, yes. Just tell him yes. He'll know what it means.
Yeah, so like I did two. Me and the Klouds got two with Piranha Head. So.
Oh, man, Piranha Head is, let's put it like this. When people say, oh man, who are some of the most interesting Detroiters you could ever meet? Piranha Head is on. Oh yeah. Like I learned his real name through Coco. Shout out to Coco. So Piranha Head, Coco told me your real name. I didn't even know you had a real name.
Right. I'll be forgetting it too. No, Piranha Head is one of them. I gotta say, true spirits of Detroit, man. He gonna keep you real too. Like you know what I'm saying. So I appreciate him. Like every time I talk to him, like. He uplifts me and keeps me humble at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So I love that about it.
Definitely. So last question. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
Shoot, Skonie.
There we go.
You know why.
We with it.
Hey, you know, the history of the Skonies, you know what I'm saying? Like, they deserve a little bit more, you know. Was conversation a little bit more talked about, you know what I'm saying? I know they had some grimy stuff, but it ain't enough story out there about them. It's just myth.
So Skonie, so people know, is definitely another one of those, like as we say, cultural street sex that we talk about. So like along West 8 Mile, West 7 Mile, like it was just a whole.
It was pretty outlandish, but you know, I definitely think those times called for those times.
And those that definitely were there, like Northland Roller Rink, if they, you know what I'm saying, if you heard a loud scoops,
get out,
it would probably lead to some interpersonal conflicts possibly. Yeah. So with that being said, thank you so much, my brother.
Thank you for having me, Kari. Real talk. Detroit is definitely different. Y'all see it already, baby.
All right. Peace.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.